We built a soundproof room to hide our secrets. Now it's hiding our screams. The first time Alistair cried in front of me was the night he knew we were all going to die. The fire in his study spat and hissed, a frantic, angry thing. It was the only sound for a long time. Alistair, Jago, Remy, and me. 4 pillars of this godforsaken town, huddled together in a room that smelled of old leather, expensive whiskey, and something else. Something sour. The smell of fear. I got up and walked to the window. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. "We have to tell someone," I said. My voice sounded thin. "We have to." Alistair, a man who built an empire on never flinching, shook his head. His jowls trembled. "And tell them what, Keon? That a ghost story we told ourselves as boys has come back to kill us? They'd lock us up. We'd be ruined before she even got to us." Jago and Remy just nodded, their faces slack and pale in the firelight. They looked like statues. We had everything. Big houses, beautiful wives downstairs, pretending this was just another one of Alistair's Halloween parties. Kids and grandkids who thought we were invincible. Tonight, we would have traded all of it, every last cent, just for this to be a nightmare, a bad joke. The fire popped, a sound like a gunshot, and it broke the spell. I stared out the window, down at the trick-or-treaters moving between pools of streetlight. Little ghosts and goblins, laughing. They had no idea. A fog was creeping in from the woods, thick and unnatural, swallowing the edges of the neighborhood. It looked hungry. The state police then, I pushed, my hand leaving a sweaty print on the cold glass. "And say what?" Alistair's voice was a low growl. He poured another 3 fingers of scotch. "That the things happening are connected? The deputies who found the Calloway family, one of them quit the force the next day. Just walked out. He told the sheriff they weren't just dead, they were arranged. Like something was trying to spell a word with their bodies." "That's not a prank, Keon." That was a message. Remy, who hadn't spoken a word all night, finally found his voice. It was a dry rustle. We knew this would happen. "She told us it would if we ever broke the pact. We just got comfortable. We got rich. Fools, I thought. We were fools. We thought we had cheated the devil and gotten away clean." "Maybe it's a coincidence," Jago offered, his voice pleading. "The Calloways lived way out on the edge of the swamp, and Miller's horses, animals go crazy sometimes." Alistair slammed his glass down. "His land, Jago. It all happened on the land we promised her, every last acre. Miller's prize stallions weren't just mutilated, they were braided. Their manes and tails woven together with thorns and barbed wire. And the old church? The stained glass didn't just break. The priest said it looked like it melted from the inside out. Don't you fucking see it?" A cold certainty washed over me. I turned from the window, and a smile I couldn't control tugged at my lips. "She's not being random." They all stared at me. "The Calloway farm, Miller's stables, the church, she's drawing a circle," I said, the words tasting strange and foreign in my mouth. "She's closing in, on us." Alistair waved his hand like he was swatting a fly, but the fear in his eyes was undeniable. We all lapsed back into our own private hells, staring at the fire, at the dark wood, at anything but each other. The study, usually a fortress of masculine confidence, felt like a cage. The smell of old books was no comfort. It smelled like dust and decay. "At least we're safe in here," Remy murmured, trying to convince himself. As the words left his lips, the chandelier overhead flickered once, twice, then went out, plunging us into a darkness broken only by the fire. A moment later, the lights buzzed back to life. My eyes shot to the window. For just a second, a fraction of a second, I saw a face pressed against the glass. Pale, eyes like black pits, long, dark hair plastered to its cheeks. I recoiled, stumbling back into a bookshelf. "She's here," I choked out. The room went dead silent. The fire seemed to shrink, its warmth sucked away. The safety of these walls felt like a lie. "This is what she does," Alistair spat, his words aimed at me. "She gets in your head. I told you back then, Keon. You were always too close to her, too curious." A soft knock on the study door made us all jump. It was Alistair's wife, Catherine, smiling, asking if we needed anything. Her cheerfulness was obscene. She closed the door, and the silence she left behind was heavier than before. It was a choice we all made, I shot back at Alistair, my anger a welcome shield, all four of us. How was I supposed to know she'd latch on to me? Jago looked up, his face desperate. What about old Elspeth, the woman from the fens? What she did, the salt lines, the iron tokens. She said the house was sealed. That should hold, right? Alistair and I looked at each other. A secret dread passed between us. That's not an option, Alistair said, his voice flat. He walked to the fireplace and threw another log on. Sparks flew up the chimney like angry souls. She's dead. They found her this morning at her cottage. What happened? Remy whispered. The sheriff thinks a wild animal got her, Alistair said, not looking at us. But he told me. He said she was in the center of her kitchen floor. And all around her, in a perfect circle, were dozens of dead crows. Every single one of them had its eyes pecked out. The last bit of hope in the room died. We had made a deal. Power, wealth, influence. All we had to do was one little thing for her. A tribute. A ceremony. But we got scared. We got arrogant. We backed out at the last minute, laughed about it, and thought we could just walk away. The power went out again. This time, it stayed out. The darkness was absolute, except for the dying fire. I stared out into the blackness, at the fog that had now completely consumed the street. Did any of you ever talk about it? I asked, my voice eerily calm. Ever? After a few too many drinks? Did you tell your wives? Anyone? I looked at each of them in turn. Catherine again, this time with candles and a flashlight. She talked about the romance of a power outage on Halloween. The party downstairs was apparently in full swing, louder than ever, oblivious. When she left, we were four ghosts haunting a room lit by the trembling flames of cheap candles. I let out a short, sharp laugh. It sounded like breaking glass. We're the horsemen, aren't we? I said. The scotch was working its magic, a warm blanket of fatalism. 4 of us. Remember what the sheriff said about Miller's stables. 4 horses were missing. Just gone. She's playing with us. What is wrong with you? Jago snapped, his voice cracking. You're enjoying this. We're about to be butchered, and you're sitting here smirking. That's rich coming from you, Alistair, I said, turning to him. The firelight cut his face in half, one side bathed in orange, the other lost to shadow. Why don't you tell them? Tell them why tonight is the night. Jago and Remy looked from me to Alistair, confused. 3 months ago, I began, the words flowing out of me like they were someone else's. You felt guilty, nostalgic. You drove out to the old stone circle where we first met her. You were drunk. You left your silver flask on the altar stone. An offering? An apology? It doesn't matter. It was a token. An invitation. You broke the first and most important rule, never go back. Never acknowledge the pact. You might as well have sent her a fucking letter. The wind howled outside, rattling the window frames like a giant hand shaking the house. Alistair's face was a mask of shock and horror. He looked naked. Exposed. How could you possibly know that? He stammered. She told me, I said simply. She whispers to me in my dreams, shows me things. I thought it was a curse my whole life. This faint voice in the back of my mind. But I've learned to live with it. None of you had to carry that. None of you. I took a long drink of whiskey and looked out the window again. The fog was right up against the glass now, pressing in. A heavy, final knock echoed from the study door. We all froze. Alistair called out, asking who it was. Catherine's voice came back, muffled. There's a visitor for you, gentlemen. An old friend, she said. A Ms. Morwenna. The name hung in the air like poison. Alistair's face went white. Jago made a choking sound. Remy just stared, his mouth hanging open. They turned slowly, a symphony of dread, to look at me by the window. A growl rumbled in my chest, low and inhuman. I looked down at my hands, then back up at them. A grin stretched my face, pulling my lips back from my teeth, wider and wider, until it felt like my jaw would unhinge. It wasn't my grin. A bolt of lightning split the sky outside, illuminating the room in a flash of stark white. For that single, silent second, it wasn't my body standing there. It was her. A tall, gaunt woman in my clothes, her eyes black holes, her face a pale mask of ancient hunger. They saw her, all three of them. Then the darkness and the candlelight returned, and it was just me again, just their friend, Kian. My voice, when it came out, was not my own. It was a layered, guttural harmony of chilling whispers. "You should have kept your promise," they screamed. They scrambled for the door, knocking over chairs and candles, but it was no use. Alistair built this study to be soundproof, a quiet place for his business deals, his affairs, his secrets, a place where no one could hear the little sins. He never imagined it would have to contain a scream this big. Downstairs, the party music swelled, and no one heard a thing.